are things with yourself?
Good, yeah, just cranking out interviews, and I went to Epstein's apartment today, so
Okay. Hey everybody, and welcome back to Divulgence. Hope everyone's doing well today. I'm super excited for our episode today. Our next guest is a best-selling ghostwriter, author, geopolitical commentator, reporter, and public intelligence analyst. He's from the American Midwest, and he's been featured in shows such as The Gateway Pundit and Unlimited Hangout. He's had about 8 YouTube channels to date, terminated by the technocratic empire for his work in public intelligence, journalism, and reporting. Essentially, this guy's just trying to fucking fight the good fight, and they're just trying to put him down. With my show, it's very new, as you guys all know, and I'm starting to feel the burn a little bit. So I just can't imagine how much work you got to put in to get 8 YouTube channels terminated, but you're definitely doing something right. His work has brought him all over the world, including the US, United Kingdom, Japan as well. And currently he is in New York City in the thick of it, and he's covering the trial of Ghislaine Maxwell. So obviously I'm super excited to introduce my new friend, Addy Adds. Addy, what's going on, man?
hey, Mr. Vezeau, I appreciate the invite and you having me on. So yeah, it's like you said, I'm in New York City.
You're right in the action, man. That's awesome. So, I mean, I know you've done, obviously you've been working on the case lately nonstop, and you've been doing some recent episodes. I know you did Sam's show recently and whatnot, but I mean, hey, if you can.
Oh, Sam Tripoli?
Yeah, Sammy.
Yeah, I was on there. Yeah, that was great. That was because I definitely knew who he was, and that was definitely an honor.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm a lot newer to the game, so to speak, but yeah, Sam's a great guy, and he's definitely a good guy to connect with, and yeah, but I mean, with something like this, it's just changing every day, right? So it's nice to get you on. Anyone who listens to the recent Tinfoil Hat episode, this can be kind of maybe a little bit of updates here and there, but that's at your leisure, my friend, because you're the magician today. So
thanks, man.
So
we're doing. I saw. Did you have Scott Horton on your show? Is that right?
Yeah, my most recent episode was with Scott. Yeah.
How did you swing that? If I can ask, because I know. Myself, when you don't have too many followers, it's sometimes hard to get even a response, let alone.
Yeah, man. Absolutely.
Guess sometimes,
Are you trying to hook up with Scott?
At some point,
or are you
next
just
year, for sure?
Curious. Okay.
For sure.
Yeah, he has a booker / agent that runs his stuff.
So he's pretty much cool to go on small shows like ours. Then it sounds like.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah, I'm sure you gave mine a quick look. Like, I mean, I started to have I've only been going for a couple months, but I mean, I'm hitting it pretty hard, and I'm doing the best of my ability with guests, like you said, right? When you're a smaller outfit, and as soon as I started kind of around the 8th or 9th episode, you start talking about certain things, and YouTube's just been hitting me hard. So I jumped on Rumble and BitChute and Odyssey recently. And BitChute's been going well, and Odyssey and Rumble just a bit of a slower start, but I think it's all on what you put out there, right? So I mean,
like you said, I'm in New York City. Been here a couple weeks now. It's only my second time here. My first time I was, I think, 11 or 12. So I don't know if that really counts. We
cool.
It's kind of a family day trip coming from West Point. So yeah, it's been fun. Unfortunately, it hasn't been too cold. There's a couple days it was pretty chilly. But this past like 3, 4, 5 days, it's been quite warm, actually. I was walking outside today with a t-shirt on, actually. So yeah, it's been good. But yeah, the exposure that I've been getting from this trial is definitely new for me. I got pretty decent uptick the first week of this year. You mentioned me being on the Gateway Pundit. That was partially, I would say mostly, because Patrick Byrne tweeted out a video intelligence report I published on Rumble. I think it was actually, no joke, it was I believe it was a year ago today when I published that. It was on the 15th of December. Thank you.
Right on, man.
And it was, just getting, 24 views or whatever for like 2 weeks. And then this young reporter from Real America's Voice, which I believe is Steve Bannon's outfit, Heather Mullins, I connected with her, and she showed the report to Patrick Byrne. They, I think by happenstance, just bumped into each other at a social gathering that same evening. He tweeted it out, got 500,000 hits really quickly. And Jim Hoff picked it up, put it front page, Gateway Pundit. Byrne lost his Twitter. I think like a day or two after that, I lost my big YouTube. And yeah, that was really a crazy first week of the year. That was, obviously the 6th of January was in the first week of this year as well. I was there covering that. And then, I can go into more of that stuff. But yeah, the rest of this year, it's been really, I haven't really seen any growth whatsoever, to be frank. Partially, I'd say, if not mostly, because of the canceling, as you mentioned. I got
Yeah.
one channel up over 1,000 once, and then that got taken off almost right away. And then I had one taken down with 6 subscribers. That was the week of 9/11. So yeah, it's kind of been nonstop whack-a-mole since then. Really discouraging, I have to say. Seeing all that time and that effort, and not really seeing too much growth. But like you mentioned, I'm getting a lot more coverage now, blowing up a bit on Twitter, I gotta say.
That's good.
It's really a relief more than anything, because there was the thoughts coming in of quitting, or at least trying to do something else at the same time, and just to supplement in terms of income and such. But now that this is popped off like this, it's a lot more encouraging. I think it'll be a good jumping off point for me. At least that's my hope. So and like you said, I've been doing a lot more shows, really inundated last week with emails. I think I've mostly got back to everybody, so that's been great. I was
That's
just
so
on,
good, man. Good for you.
yeah, thanks, man. I was just on Shaun Attwood's show before this, and then
Oh,
before that, I was
sweet.
on.
That's awesome. Good for you. I want to hook up with him sometime. I love Shaun. I think all of his books, if I'm not mistaken. He's fucking awesome.
Oh wow, yeah, he's a great writer, for sure. I don't know if I have all of them, almost all of them, if not, because I have a few of my books from my library are actually at my family's place in Germany.
Fair
And
enough.
yeah, before that was, I think his name is Richard Grove, so that was a good one too.
Yeah, Richard.
And
Yeah, I'm sure. I think we're hooking up at some point as well. Seems like a
yeah,
great
he's
guy.
a forensic historian, I believe.
Yeah, I
So
love
that's
that
been,
shit.
yeah. That was a cool show. He definitely, he was teaching me stuff. So and like you said, he's professional, and he's been doing this a while. So I was
Mhm.
actually gonna probably rewatch that episode just to learn some of the stuff he was teaching. But yeah, it's been great. And then like I said, tomorrow the trial resumes, so we're gonna see what the defense has to say officially as far as their case. But I could see this getting wrapped up probably by Christmas Eve day. That's what I've been kind of pegging as where
Okay.
it's going to end at. Yeah, it's surprising because we thought it was going to go 6 weeks, but might be 1 or 2 days at the last week of the year, depending on how long the jury deliberates. But we got maybe 3 days of defense's case, maybe 4, maybe as short as 2 closing arguments, and then the verdict, which will come after the deliberation. So. Yeah, I really highly doubt it's going to go into January. I don't see that happening. And even like I said, there's a chance it could be finished before the last week of the year. So surprising to say the least. But
Yeah, man. Yeah,
yeah,
you seem
wherever you want to
confident
take
about
it.
that though, so that's excellent.
Yeah. I mean, it's unexpected, for sure, especially when you look at how quickly the prosecution rested their case. Just 2 weeks. Comparing that to another case going on here in SDNY, Southern District of New York, a local drug dealer. And the prosecution's going longer than 2 weeks for a local drug dealer case in the same district. So it's very interesting, I think, to compare those, as well as the lack of a call-in line. Also here in SDNY, there's a January 6th defendant being tried, and there is a call-in line for that trial, but there's not a call-in line for the Ghislaine Maxwell trial. So definitely some keen observations there that, again, interesting is probably putting it euphemistically when
So
you look
what,
into it.
Addy, what does that mean exactly?
Uh, as
Just to
far
clarify
as,
for
oh,
myself and the
sure.
listeners.
Yeah. So, for example, the Rittenhouse trial, you could watch that, and that got millions and millions of views. But that was a state trial, and federal trials, they don't allow cameras to be in court like that to the same degree, right? And even our phones and electronics and recording devices, we can't have. We got to check them in when we go through security every day. And because of that, and the public's, I think, right to know what's going on in their courts, there was a lot of confusion as to why there wasn't a call-in line where you could call a number and listen into the trial in real time to see
Okay, cool.
what's going
Interesting.
on.
I've never heard of that. I don't know why. I'm really into true crime and legal shit. I don't know why I've never heard of the call-in thing. Is that a new thing over the last few years, or is that?
I don't think so. I actually don't know the history of it, to be honest. This is my first trial, so
Okay,
I don't
fair
know
enough.
too much about as far as having a baseline to compare it to.
Sure,
But I would
sure.
say I'm learning pretty quickly. But there was a guy, and he's the other guy, which has been really flattering, just being mentioned in the same breath as the inner city press guy, Matthew Russell Lee, and myself have kind of been pegged as the two leaders in coverage from different angles. He gets a lot of the transcripts in real time, but it's kind of retyped, so he'll type it on Twitter. It's
Okay.
not a transcript per se, but you get a decent idea of what the back and forth is going like. And then I'll do coverage before court proceedings in the morning, which start at 9:30 a.m. Talking to the siblings, and I don't know if there's any words you don't want me to say. I forgot to ask you.
Dude, say whatever the fuck you want, man.
Okay.
If you need me to edit anything out, just tell me, but say whatever the fuck you want.
Okay. I just want to make sure. Yeah, so like Ghislaine Maxwell's siblings, Kevin Maxwell and Isabel, I've gotten several times walking in, trying to ask them good pertinent questions, and no response so far. And the defense lawyers I've gotten walking in several days. The prosecution just one day. That was the first Monday of the second week. So the prosecution has been quite hermetic. I got to say, very standoffish. And interesting about that too is the fact, other than the fact they've rested their case so early, is the non-admittance of certain evidence, like the schoolgirl outfits that were brought up. Epstein actually sent one of these or multiple outfits to one of the witnesses, Miss Caroline, who was at the third witness. And because of that, actually a FedEx paralegal was brought up, but the prosecution didn't want to admit the evidence because they felt it might further traumatize the victims, which even Judge Nathan was like, I don't understand that. And then combine that with Maureen Comey, who's on the prosecution for the government. She, requested the names to be redacted, the flight manifest. The whole prosecution did, which again doesn't make a whole lot of sense. It would make sense why the defense would want to prevent that, maybe, right? But why would the government care about that if they're working on the behalf of United States citizens in prosecuting criminals?
Sure.
I think the public has a right to know who was on these flights, who went to the island.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Especially
Yeah.
because it seems that these people are stemmed right into Hollywood, government, role model positions, elite positions, people
Yeah.
with fingers
Yeah.
on the buttons and, other fingers
sure.
diddling little kids, right?
That's what it appears like. I mean, certainly some of them were, but we don't know how many,
Sure.
to what percentage. For example, Al Gore was there, but he was with his wife the whole time. And I guess he was paying attention to his wife the whole time. So, but then you got other guys, like Bill Clinton, who weren't there with Hillary, for example, or Dershowitz as well. He even despite what he claimed, he has traveled separately from his wife, been with a lady named Tatiana, for example, and I believe other women on the flight manifest as well. So, Dershowitz is an interesting character. I was on Kiriakou and Stranahan's show twice now, and they contended, well, they asked me about that, have you seen him around? And not yet. I'd be surprised if he pokes his head near the court, because we've seen a couple of people close to the case, like Sarah Ransom, I believe was there the first week. I was told by someone there. I didn't see her personally, but I did see Teresa Helm, who's another victim. And then her lawyer was with her, Sigrid McCauley. And yeah, but as far as Dershowitz, he was defending himself even on the Netflix documentary Filthy Rich, which I found surprising, because he seems to kind of want to go down with the ship there. It might have been better just to not say anything. But yeah, it's, I guess, this trial ending early means I get to go back to, being not in New York. Because I got to say,
Yeah.
I can't see why people live here, to be honest. I mean, not disparaging them, but it's just not for me. I got to say,
Sure.
living in New York City, very little space. If you want any space at all, you got to be pretty well to do, or you're going to be having a couple roommates, working all the time, 2-3 jobs, I would imagine.
Banging Jeffrey Epstein, maybe.
Or you got a sugar daddy or something like that. So
where are you holed up? Are you at a hotel, or you got a Airbnb or a buddy's place or something?
I'm actually couch surfing right now on a lawyer's couch. So
nice. So it's probably a nice couch then.
Yes, and that's my point too, is like as well to do as the lawyers are, it's, but I mean, people love, they some people like living in cities, in big cities like New York and such. But that was something too when I was younger. I thought I wanted that more than I did. But when I got older, and I think sports was a big part of it, because being in rural Wisconsin, more or less, there's not many opportunities for sports outside of American football, because Wisconsin's kind of like Texas, where American football is religion. And
For sure, man.
yeah, and I played football in middle school. I was actually a quarterback on the flag football team, but I'm a pretty small guy, so I'm not really much for being a football player.
Okay.
I was more interested in soccer and even basketball.
Sure.
So, that's kind of why I wanted to get to a city, is more opportunities. But as I got older, I just found having more space and being out and closer to nature in the country to be much preferable. We'd go up every summer to my grandparents' farm, and that, I think, had a big influence
Cheese
on me.
farm?
That it was actually a dairy farm at one point, and then it was later a beef or organic beef farm. But
Okay.
they're well retired now. So yeah, that was fun as well. Going, and they would even harvest chickens. I remember when I was really little. So yeah, I kind of went through a couple phases, did their farm. So I think that was a part of that. But yeah, New York City, it's a different beast. I describe it as like 10 to 20 million people that don't like talking to each other, but they're all living, on top of each other, right? It's a very vertical city. That's the thing too, is I didn't realize how small it was. Like, you can walk
Yeah,
across
man.
Flatbush in like 8 minutes.
Sure.
It's crazy. You hear about all these boroughs and these neighborhoods. I'm
Yeah.
in Greenwich Village right now.
Oh,
Uh,
sick, dude. Right on. Got the Comedy Cellar.
okay. Yeah, I
Got the
didn't even
Comedy
know that.
Cellar right back. Oh, really?
Oh,
Okay. Well,
nice.
I'll send you some shit after. And if you like comedy, I mean, I went to, you mentioned that this is your second time being in New York. I went
Yeah.
2 years ago for the first time. Me and my girlfriend, we went for New Year's, and we just went for comedy. We just went to a shit ton of comedy shows. And yeah, it was great. I had Tim Dillon call me out and make fun of me, and it was fucking a great time, man. I love Tim Dillon, and I bumped into so many awesome people. If you like comedy, just hang out around the Comedy Cellar and stuff. You bump into Dave Attell. I mean, he lives
Okay.
there, and like, it's
Sweet.
cool, man. You never know who's gonna pop up. You might have Jerry Seinfeld or someone pop up, but no, that's cool. Greenwich Village, regardless, it's a cool area, man. That's what.
Yeah. I just realizing it's a lot smaller. It's much more vertical city, as I mentioned, than the horizontal. But yeah, I might have to check that
Absolutely.
out. But I don't actually have a Gestapo pass. I'm not jabbed, and I don't plan on getting
Oh
so.
shit.
So
Okay.
I would
Yeah.
assume you would need one. I
Yeah,
could
I
be wrong
forgot about
about
that,
that.
man. Sorry. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm in the same boat. I'm not none of
sure.
that
Yeah.
shit.
And where are you located? I actually
I
don't
was
know.
just gonna say I'm in the Canadian New York City, Toronto, Ontario. Yeah,
Canadian New York City. I like that.
yeah.
It is. Yeah. A big banking city. It's a good way to
Oh,
put
for
it.
sure. Yeah. Where's your headquarters right now? Like, where are you living? Are you in Wisconsin?
No, I haven't lived there since 2020. I believe it was 2020. Yeah, it was July of 2020. It was the last time I was there. Just
Okay.
like a month. I went from Eugene, Oregon. I was there like 6 months. I might have been there about 2 months, actually, maybe a month and a half. I just stayed with my brother, and it was actually in Eau Claire. But up from then until several months, I was kind of traveling every few weeks, or even every few days, depending on the schedule. So, but my home bases now are Charlotte, North Carolina, and then
Okay.
Myrtle Beach. That's a kind of cycle between those two. So I just say the Carolinas, which I never thought I would end up being from the North. But I really love the Carolinas. It's a
That's
beautiful
cool.
country. Very, I don't want to say conservative, or they are conservative. They respect people's rights for liberty in many ways that blue states do not, to be quite frank. And that's not to say there's not problems there. If you get caught with
Sure.
weed, you're going to get in trouble, certainly in South Carolina. But
That's not good.
on the other hand, they're very pro, right to bear arms. People like to keep to themselves, very much so. Not too there's a couple, but not too many crazy liberal cities. Like, I went to University of Wisconsin, and it's just, I got mentored by George Webb for like 6 to 7, 8 months there when we were traveling, and he called it the Red Square, because the Capitol, it is the Capitol building, has a square around it where four roads kind of. It's on the isthmus in between like these lakes, and Madison itself is very, very liberal, and much of that has to do with the university there. So being 4 years on that campus, I'm glad I don't live there anymore. It's just not for me, for sure. And I've never even described myself as conservative. I was always more like maybe a Christian Democrat or a liberal Democrat growing up, but politics is always in flux and changing and such. So if I had to describe myself now, it would be maybe lowercase libertarian. I'm not really sure if that even is accurate. I need to read more about it, but I'm really for freedom.
Same here, man.
Like freedom to do something,
Sure, yeah.
freedom from oppression. So as long as you're not harming anyone, right, and committing harm or such, I just don't see a whole why the government should have much say in anything you do, to be honest. So yeah, it's some people think that's pretty radical, but I don't.
Some people are radically demented, right? So
Sure,
yeah.
yeah, definitely. But yeah, any questions? I don't know if you want to focus on the trial or go deep, just the Epstein Maxwell network in general, because that's
yeah. I mean, if you could give me whatever recent updates there are,
Okay.
if there are any, and then yeah, we can talk about the network a bit for sure. I mean, and you can talk about your experience, man, whatever you want to talk about. I mean,
Sure.
obviously there's stuff that I want to hear, but it's I want to hear it from your mouth. So you tell me, man, you're the guy, you're in the trenches, and it's awesome. Thanks, man. It's great to hear from you. So you tell me what you want to put out there.
Yeah. As far as updates, I've pretty much given them all. But the day-to-day experience, it's been really enjoyable just meeting actually other reporters and writers. That's been really fun. I haven't had too much time, as much time as I would like to actually interact with them. Usually just get about 15, 25 minutes on break. And then lunch, you get about an hour. And usually that whole I'm working, except for like maybe 10, 15 minutes I'm eating. So you only get a few minutes to really interact with people. But it's been really great just connecting with people that way. But today I went to, I want to share this. I went to Epstein's his apartment that got raided by the FBI over at East 71st Street, number 9. And I just did a quick video, talking about the pictures that were found. Fidel Castro and Epstein, a picture of them was only recently discovered because it came up in court during this trial. And of course, Clinton and Woody Allen, people I think already know about those guys. But I think that the apartment's under surveillance because there's two. It happened in the space of maybe 3 minutes, and maybe I'm wrong about one of these or both, but maybe not. There was a guy with a clipboard, and he walked by, and then he turned around and he walked back again. He walked back to the end of the block, and then and I was like, that's a little weird. So I kind of meandered over to where he went, and I went down the block, and he was gone, so I couldn't see him. So then I'm at the end of the block now, and I have to go back towards the subway because I need to get back for it was the Richard Grove interview, and so I have to pass Epstein's apartment again, right? And there's this guy in a black suit walking towards me, and he's in an all black suit and he's got black shoes, and we kind of get to each other right in front of Epstein's door, and he's like, he got there a little bit sooner than I did, and he's like wiping the bottom of his shoe. It was kind of weird.
Stall tactic.
That's what I was thinking. And I just stood there for a moment and we just kind of like sized each other up. I think I just nodded at him, and I wish I would have asked him something, but that's the thing is
to get a feel from him.
Or
more
at
of a
least
feel. Yeah, man, for sure.
Yeah. And taped him up close. I did get him away, but it was probably a good 30 yards away, and I barely got his side profile. Okay. But I just stayed there, and then he didn't say anything, and then he walked away back towards the subway, and he actually turned around twice, I think it was, before he went around the block.
To do some kind of, when you're trying to check out a hot chick with a nice ass when you're with your girlfriend kind of thing.
It was a little, so I was like, okay, that guy I'm gonna I tailed him, to be honest. I walked in the same direction, let's say.
Yeah, you did. Right on.
And I don't think he saw me, to be honest. He might have turned around once on the block, and then he crossed the street, and I could see him there, and I got a little shot of him, and then I could feel almost like he was about to turn around again. So I tied my shoe, and then I stood up, and he was crossing the street, and he walked into, it was actually Chase Bank, but it was not the bank itself. It was like a Chase private something or other, and there's like a JP Morgan logo was on it. So I got the address to that, and I don't know, it could be coincidence, but this dude literally walks, if he works there, he walked out of work in the middle of the day to wipe his shoe off in front of Epstein's apartment while I was doing, right after I got done doing my report. So it could be completely coincidental. You know, I don't rule that out, but it did seem very the timing was very interesting.
If you were to ask him something, or if you guys like made eye contact or something, like what would you throw out there?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, can I help you? It looks like you want to say something to me. That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah, attaboy.
Yeah, so maybe
Good.
next time if I'm in another situation similar to that, I'll do that. But yeah, it was a little weird, especially the second one, because the first guy, maybe he was just lost or something.
Sure.
But he did have a profile that looked like he might be from the Middle East, particularly our greatest allies country. He kind of had that look to him. So again, I could be wrong, you know, and maybe I'm looking at
Mossad.
other
He's
things.
Mossad. Okay. All right. I see what you're
Maybe.
saying. I see what you're saying.
Maybe. I mean, you have to think they're maybe still surveilling it, but maybe not. Again, maybe that is completely coincidental.
Well, I mean, the story we know is the story they've given us and allowed us to know, right? So we don't. I mean, is that place sold? I thought
It
that
did
place
sell.
sold. Okay.
Yeah,
So
it did sell. It was just under $50 million. I want to say it was earlier this year. It could have been late last year though. But yeah, it has changed hands since then.
okay. Any idea on someone moving in, or like, I mean, do you know if they've taken all the evidence and the fucked up pictures that they can, or is it ready
Yeah,
to
I
become
don't
a
know who's
new
moved in.
home?
Yeah, I don't know who's moved in, but they were doing construction on it when I got there. There was like a white scaffolding set up.
Some deep
Uh,
cleaning for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe. And then across the street too, they were also doing construction, and they were really loud actually across the street. I didn't see anybody actively doing
Ooh,
construction
really?
on Epstein's house, but there was a scaffolding set up. But on the other side of the street, literally right across the street, there were guys actively working there. But yeah, I can't say who bought it because I don't know. But interesting about the evidence thing, after the FBI raided it, I believe it was the next morning or the morning after, one of Epstein's lawyers, his name is Darren Indyke, was seen leaving the apartment with, it looked like a briefcase or some belongings. So either the FBI left items there purposefully, or they missed a secret safe somewhere that only Indyke and maybe Richard Kahn, Epstein's other lawyer, knew about. So, you know, what did Indyke take out of there is the question. Probably something very important, obviously, that to Epstein and his estate. So one can only guess. Maybe it was blackmail, maybe it was some passports, maybe it was just jewelry or something like that, or maybe it was all three. Although I think all of those were found in the safe as well. He had, I think it was an Austrian passport that said he lived in Saudi Arabia, I want to say, and there was diamonds, and you know, Maxwell was known to have, I think, 4 passports, 4 or 5.
Okay.
I believe she has French, American, British, and Israeli citizenship, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, she could pass for all those for sure.
Yeah, she kind of
And
has that.
Epstein can pass for, American or Jewish, Israeli, or, greasy Italian, whatever, man. Like,
Yeah, they do have kind of a ambiguous look like that.
I love Italians, so
Yeah, me too. Yeah, I love
yeah,
Italy. Yeah,
just
Italy's great.
so yeah, that's okay. Do you know how many lawyers Epstein had in the end, and how many Ghislaine has right now?
Yeah, I could more
Yeah.
accurately tell you who is on the defense now for Ghislaine. I know, I can't remember his first name, but I know at least one lawyer at a deposition that Epstein had to attend. His last name was Johnson, if I'm not mistaken. I can't remember his first name, but his two main ones, which are kind of his lifelong lawyers, as far as I could tell, or lifelong, I think it was starting in the 80s, late 80s, I want to say, were Endyke and Kahn, Richard Kahn and Darren Endyke. But on Maxwell's team, we got, I might have been able to do that before, but as far as the rap sheet, the defense, you got Bobby Sternheim, who actually defended Nicholas Tartaglione, who many people peg as the guy who killed Epstein in jail. He killed 4 men, buried them in his backyard. He's an ex-cop, so he has pull up connections to both the crime world and law enforcement. Giant dude. He's like a gorilla. He's like twice the size of me. You know, he could just tear Epstein apart if he wanted to. And so Sternheim defended him. Then you have Christian Everdale, this is his first kind of big case as far as, well, obviously this is probably the biggest case for a lot of these lawyers in their careers, but he's one of the younger lawyers on the defense, and he was doing the public defense, I think, criminal defense for a couple years before doing privately, which is where the real dough, the defense is making way more money than the government prosecution. And then you have Laura Menninger, and she's been doing a lot of the cross examinations, particularly of the women, because in terms of perception in the jury and the defense, they want to make sure there's not any sort of, it looks like a man's attacking a sex victim, right? That sort of thing. So they usually have the woman cross examining a woman in sex crimes. And then, like I said, Sternheim, Everdale, you have Menninger. And there might be one more that I'm missing. But as far as the prosecution, you have Laura Pomerantz, who's this itty bitty lady. She's got to be 5 feet tall, maybe 100 pounds soaking wet. And then you have Comey, as I mentioned, Maureen Comey, who's a big girl. Obviously, her father's like 6'8", I think, James Comey. And then you have his name's Damian Williams, I think, and he's been very. I don't even know if I've seen him on camera, to be honest. And then there's one more, Andrew Rohrback. But it's mostly the ladies who have been doing the examining for the government, both sides really. Although Everdale, I think he's done some cross examinations too. I gotta say, I'm probably most impressed with him. And then the other one was Polyuka, who did a pretty scathing cross examination of the witness Caroline, who definitely had the saddest story, probably had the most emotionally impactful testimony. Her father molested her and worse, beginning when she was 4. She was trafficked to Epstein when she was 14 to when she was 18. Her boyfriend basically pimped her out, and she cried a few times on camera. You could see her voice getting, hear her voice getting shaken audibly. A couple times I noticed was when they actually showed a picture of Epstein, you could hear her getting emotional. And then the other time was they asked her what she did with the money that she made, and she basically just said buying more drugs. And then at the
like
end,
broken girl. So
yeah,
sad.
yeah, really. And her mother was an alcoholic and an addict too, and she herself has had a lot of drug problems. She's still on methadone, anti-schizophrenia drugs, because sometimes she'll hear voices that say that her children are going to get trafficked. But they also asked if she could tell the difference between reality and fiction, and she said yeah. And then to deal with her opiate addiction, as I mentioned, methadone. So yeah, the Polyuka is the other one, and he's obviously Italian descent. So yeah, and I might be missing one of the kind of the more role players as far as the lawyers go on either side. But yeah, very high powered attorneys. And then you have a very expensive witness that is going to be seen maybe I would imagine sometime this week, either Thursday, Friday, or Saturday. A psychologist, Elizabeth Loftus, who has this specialty, quote unquote, in basically debunking memories of sexual abuse, whether they happen in childhood or not. She's defended Ted Bundy. She's defended Harvey Weinstein, the cops that beat up Rodney King. Lots
So
of villains.
she's a good sport. She's on the right side, it sounds like.
Yeah. I think she lost all of those too. I think all of those ended up in
Oh,
convictions,
fuck
if I'm
her,
not
man.
wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some people will do anything for money, So she's going to testify. One of these 3 might even see her tomorrow. We'll see. So that's going to be one of their more star witnesses, let's say, for the defense. So yeah, as far as lawyers go, that's it. Yeah, and I should look back into Epstein's lawyers a little more. But yeah, that connection to Tartaglione and Sternheim, I found very fascinating
For
because.
sure, man.
Yeah, they were inmates, obviously, Epstein and Tartaglione. And I forgot to mention, too, Comey was actually going to be on the prosecutorial team for Epstein case, too, before Epstein didn't kill himself. So looks like, to me, some blatant nepotism going on with how many great attorneys you have in New York, I'm sure. And then Comey gets arguably the 2 biggest criminal conspiracy cases of all time. Maybe, and somebody speculated earlier that that's going to be, it's basically an exercise in beefing up her resume for a future gubernatorial run, which I don't see as too far-fetched of an idea.
Look back, they've done it with so many people, padding resumes, making up AOC, Obama. They're all made up, right? Fake names, fake histories, fake beliefs, fake everything, right? So I'm not
Yeah, the
surprised one
CIA,
bit.
The CIA can literally create people,
Sure.
from thin air in that sense, especially if you're born on a CIA base like Buttigieg or whatever his name is, Buttigieg, the former presidential candidate, which I think the intelligence community, the deep state intelligence community definitely wanted him to be, I think, the candidate for the Democrats. But for one reason or another, that didn't work out. But that's a whole nother discussion, I think, the
Oh, for
election
sure.
stuff.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, for sure, man. No. I mean, I know we don't have time to get into too many more things, but we'll
yeah.
bounce a few quick things. The picture of Epstein when he died, with him going off the gurney. I mean, I know this
Sure.
is old news and stuff, but I'm just curious, what are your thoughts on that? I mean, the ears, and there's some features that are a little off, and the fact that it looks so much like Hillary Clinton's brother.
Wow.
I think Hillary Clinton's brother, who died
Okay.
around that time, I believe it was. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean I don't, rule anything out definitively if I can help it. The one thing that gives me pause for believing that Epstein might still be alive is you would think a guy like that who has all the time in the world and all the money in the world and most of the power in the world to create a dead man switch whereby if he does die, maybe, for example, every month he has to enter in a password into a computer. And if he doesn't enter that password, which only he knows, documents are published, right? Blackmail, video, photos, etc. So that's the only thing that gives me pause into believing that Epstein might still be alive. But yeah, as far as the face, I don't know too much about autopsies, but I do know that bodies can swell when they
Sure.
after hours, so that might have something to do with that. But the it does seem more compelling to me that he would be dead because logistically it's the easiest thing to do. And what I mean by that is it's much easier to just kill him than it is to, for example, ship him to Israel as a monk, which my former I called him my manager. He's kind of like a research partner more so, but he would help me out a lot. He was kind of a manager, part-time manager. That's where he thinks he is. He thinks Epstein's like has a beard and is like has a cloak on and is he's like a posing as a rabbi in Israel. So there's definitely people out there that believe he's still alive. So that being said, I gotta say Ghislaine Maxwell is definitely on trial. I saw her face a couple times now when she's taking her mask off to drink some water or whatever.
Okay.
I'm guessing it's water. I doubt she gets anything but water. And I actually got a video of her brother Kevin basically complaining about the status of her food, how she's chained up, etc. He's pleading for Merrick Garland, our current attorney general, to step in and do something. Of course, Garland didn't say a thing. He's not going to do anything. This guy I met, who I just interviewed, he's a writer. Well, he's American, but he's actually based in France, and he actually has been in the courtroom itself, and he saw Ghislaine as well. So, and I got to say, I have a pretty good memory with faces. So,
Okay.
as soon as she took off the mask, I got up off the pew and I got up right close to the screen, and I was like, "Yep, yeah, that's her."
All right.
Yeah. So
Well,
that was necessary for me because I had my doubts too, like
sure.
everybody else.
Sure.
For sure.
You never know what they're going to try to pull, right? You never know.
Mhm.
Look at what they've pulled. Look what they've pulled that we know about, that we can
Sure.
prove
yeah.
to an extent, so to speak, give or take, so to speak, give or take, whatever. And just another thing here, I don't know. I didn't realize, maybe I've been missing it, but here's this recent photo that's going around. I didn't realize she had these fucking tits, man.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's just what's going on with how she's laying, but
yeah.
I guess I'm just not paying attention. Maybe that's just my moral conscience, but I've seen this picture going around like crazy, and those are some fucking huge knockers, man.
Yeah, and I gotta say, I didn't know
Not that I
either.
approve of them, but
Of course, and we love all sizes matter, right here. We're all good for all sizes.
Sure.
But yeah, as far as Ghislaine's, those photos were released, I think, after I first noticed them, and I noticed them in court, and she actually had a sweater on, and I was like, she kind of stood side profile, and I was like, dang, she has a pretty big chest for being a little girl, because she's not really that big,
yeah, I wouldn't imagine her to be. Yeah.
Doesn't have the biggest hips, I gotta say, but yeah, she does have a very big upstairs for sure. And this lady next to me who actually recognized me, she's like, I saw you on Ryan Dawson's show. I was like, whoa, that is flattering. It was only like
Nice.
the second or third time that's ever happened. But she
Buddy,
was
you're
like, yeah,
famous now. Get used to it. Get used to this shit.
yeah, right. 3 people over the course of a year recognize me.
Hey, man.
But yeah, she was like, yeah, she's got some big knockers. And I was like, yeah, you're right. And then those photos came out that same week, and I was like, yep, yeah, she definitely
Okay.
does.
So I'm not the only one having a conundrum over these
No, yeah,
Ghislaine
they're big for
tits.
sure.
Okay. All right.
Yeah,
I haven't seen them pop up before. No pun intended.
definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was news to me too, because I always thought she was, kind of a smaller. Well, she is. She, like I said, but yeah, I guess she's. I don't know if they're real or fake, but maybe she's just blessed up upstairs a little bit.
We'll get someone on the show. We'll figure that out. That'll be the next episode. We're gonna figure those tits out. So I mean, I saw the picture and like they're talking about like, oh, here's her hanging out with another hypocritical scumbag, and I'm thinking, like, that's the news. Like the news to me is these tits, but anyways.
Yeah, I mean, certainly the mainstream lapped it up. They love those salacious photos with the cleavage hanging out, or she was like giving a foot massage. There's a couple Epstein photos of Epstein getting a foot massage.
Oh, really? Okay, I haven't seen
Yeah.
those. Interesting.
And then there was one where they were sitting actually at the cabin of the Queen. I want to say it was literally Queen Elizabeth's, one of her many. I'm sure she has many cabins. So that's the thing. The mainstream, they love those photos, right? Because it hits you, right? Humans are very visually focused creatures. So,
Absolutely.
that's a sense that I think separates us in many ways from other animals. Da Vinci described it as our most profound sense, the one that impressed him the most. And because of that, they love these photos because they can put them front page, or
Sure.
I didn't even know that they have, but they can certainly splash them on the internet and they'll get clicks. But they really haven't gone too deep as far as analysis or even asking questions about the trial. There have been a couple outlets that have done, I think, an okay job, but certainly nothing by way of intelligence agencies or even, asking some good questions like some of the stuff that we've covered today. So yeah, it's confusing because you had like, I want to say it was like a good 20 to 30 photos. Her name was Kim. Her last name's escaping me, but she was an FBI agent who was a part of the, I think it was evidence collection with regards to that raid on the apartment that I visited today.
Okay.
And basically all she did was confirm the photos validity and submit them. But my question is, where are the videos, because these are literally just photos of Epstein and Maxwell hanging out. I mean, they're kind of salacious because it shows her cleavage and then the foot massage. But I think we both know, and I think a lot of the audience knows, that the FBI has a lot more than photos of Ghislaine giving a massage, and none of that is in court, obviously. So it does feel like a very limited scope of a trial, certainly taking into account everything I mentioned about the prosecution and the length of the trial too, with the local drug dealer. His prosecutors taking more time on that case than, again, one of the biggest criminal conspiracy cases of all time. So
it's crazy.
It's puzzling.
Do you feel like it's getting rushed a bit, or do you feel like it's just the way things have flown? It's just gone smoothly, so to speak, and it's picking up traction and going fast.
No, it does feel like a limited scope. Like I said, a bit rushed. And I mentioned before too, the prosecution being very media shy. I think is a good way to put it. Maybe they don't want questions asked to them directly.
Okay.
I don't know. It's a bit confusing. I got to say though, it's trending towards this being not a good outcome in terms of the public's demand for justice,
for us,
right? Yeah,
the victims and justice. Okay.
Yeah, but likely outcome, I would say, at this point is unfortunately partial acquittal, but partial conviction. I don't see her getting fully walking free. I just don't think that the government. I think the government knows that the public would not tolerate that. That's what I think. But at the same time, if she does get convicted, she might not get the full 40 years, which basically is the rest of her life. But who knows? I mean, I could be wrong. She could walk, and then that's it, right? And that's the thing too. I talked about it with Mr. Lee. Is where are the other witnesses? This is it. This is the big one. And if she does walk, double jeopardy means she's a free woman, and she's probably going to go I don't know. I would assume,
fuck.
yeah, I would assume she would go to France or Israel. I doubt she would stay in the States, but maybe she would. I don't know. That's the thing too, is like, hopefully this is just the beginning, as Chris Hedges said. I'm paraphrasing, but he was at the Epstein Justice Rally on Saturday that Nick Bryant, I guess it was 2 Saturdays ago now, that Nick Bryant organized. Because then we can go down, either down or up the chain. You know, up the chain being Wexner, Gates, Richardson, etc. Down the chain being the other co-conspirators for sure. Leslie Groff, Nadia Marcinkova, Claire Hazel's been mentioned, Eileen Guggenheim, even, you know, Mark Epstein, of course, I would say. And obviously Jean-Luc Brunel is in custody in Paris. So he's
Oh, he is.
Yeah, he was taken into custody at Charles de Gaulle Airport. It was actually around the time I published that. It was about a year ago now, when I was doing my Atlanta publishing. My patron, and very, very generous woman, she put me up in a hotel. So I was there, and I remember being on the computer when that broke, and I streamed right away. But and the only reason that happened is because Virginia Roberts testified in court during the pandemic, which I actually didn't know that until recently. So good on her for that, because otherwise it was, you know, the people that have come out so far as it pertains to Jean-Luc Brunel in France were all past the statute of limitations, to my knowledge. So Virginia Giuffre basically, it seems, single-handedly got Brunel in custody. So good on her.
Yeah,
for that.
good for her. She's a fucking trooper.
Oh yeah,
Shout
definitely.
out.
Yeah, but we'll see where it goes.
I enjoyed this. If there's any stuff you want to talk about in the future, man, let me know. We can put some stuff together. If you want to, if you want to work on a case or something too, let me know. I'd love to do that. But I mean, I'm glad that we got together now just for an initial meeting, and yeah, this was great.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Vezeau. I'm going to be going to Mexico at some point.
Jordan, call me Jordan, man.
Okay, thanks, Jordan. Yeah, I'm gonna be covering the Mexican drug war next year at some point, so I'll be boots on the ground there, just in case anybody wants to follow up on that.
So where are you headed for this?
I'm gonna be probably heading to Sonora region, I'm guessing, somewhere around there. That's more so on the west side of Mexico, because the eastern side, especially near the Texas border, that is controlled by a cartel that is very, very little respect for human life. And you know, the Sinaloa cartel, they are very much hands off when they can be. They don't like touching Americans. They don't like touching tourists, because they know that's where a lot of money comes into Mexico. So there's a bit more of a shield around being a foreigner there.
So how are you going to get in though?
That's a great question.
Okay. Sorry, you don't have to share that. No problem.
Okay. Thanks, man. Thanks. I appreciate that. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, I get it. I'm working out any tricks of the trade I can pull right now, or I'm unfortunately I have to go home for the holidays. I got to rent a car and do a shitty drive instead of doing a 2-hour flight. I got to do a fucking shitty 2-day drive, and that's so annoying. It's so annoying.
Yeah,
so
that's going to be tough on the pocketbook too. I got to say that the car rental and car prices in general have just shot through the roof. Everything has really, but yeah.
So far my price is looking fair, so I'm.
Oh, that's good.
But I have to get a hotel. Like, it's just a bunch of extra expenses. It's so annoying. So
sure.
Yeah. Quick question. You said that you had a Patreon member put you up in a hotel. Is that what you said?
Yeah, it was. She didn't actually support me directly on Patreon, but it was literally like, yeah, it was off Patreon, but it was directly to me. She really helped me out last year. I was pretty much broke, and I was like staying on the couch in the studio, the neighborhood news studio in Michigan. And yeah, she really helped me out. Like I said, I was basically had no money at all. And yeah, she put me up for like it was like a good 2 weeks in Atlanta region, Buckhead region. And yeah, I was just doing reporting. And yeah, that was that time period where I did that armed ballot trafficking story that went front page. And then I did I was actually the one that broke the Harrison Deal story. A lot of people don't know that, but
fuck, dude.
Congrats,
man, you're doing a lot of good work lately. Seriously, man, good for you. That's so great. That's so great to hear.
Yeah, thanks, man. It's been kind of bookends, like I mentioned. The middle of this year, it's been like I said, not really a whole lot of growth. But yeah, a lot of people don't know that, I think, because the video got taken down like right away. It was like 3 days later. Our channel got taken down. George did a video that they both went up, and they stopped right at like 29,000 views in like
on YouTube.
Days. Yeah, you got it. And then people actually reposted the video. They grabbed it before it it got off, and then they posted it on like BitChute. And I didn't even notice that until months later. I saw it on BitChute, and it actually got more views than I did. So that was kind of cool to see that people were
That's sweet,
so
man.
like clued in on that they saw that. So and I didn't even mind that at all, because it just brought more shine to me. And I had my
Why not?
tags on and everything, and they kept them in. So that was kind of cool to see months later people still interested in that.
Sick, man. Okay, well, I'm gonna pull up your stuff right now. Where can my viewers check you out, Addy?
Sure. Yeah, so Twitter is a great spot for getting quick updates on the trial, which, as I mentioned, should be wrapped up by the end of the year. I would be shocked if it could happen that there's a big development that delays it, but I'm guessing that's where we're going to be at timeline wise. Yeah, but that's one Addy Adds, one spelled out, so it's ONEADDYADDS. And then my personal website is addyadds.one, addyadds.one. And as you can see, I'm on Buy Me a Coffee. There's my Spreaker podcast, which is my public intelligence podcast, is like kind of general geopolitical interviews, even talking to athletes and writers and authors. And then I got my Epstein Files podcast there as well, which is strictly Epstein Maxwell stuff. I got a reading list too, if people want to see.
Oh, that's awesome. Sweet.
Yeah, and I do have to update my website, which I'm going to try to get to that this week. I was trying to do it yesterday, but I got to really sit down. I just haven't had the time recently. So I'm going to try to update that. And
cool.
If people want to support a Venmo, all the links are on that front page there.
I'll put everything in the episode description too. So everyone check out the episode description too. All your stuff will be there.
Awesome. Thank you, Jordan. I appreciate it. Yeah, if people want to buy me a coffee, like I said, I'm at this point in time, I'm completely pretty much crowdfunded. So
cool, man.
Any help at all is much appreciated. But thanks again, Jordan. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, man. Thanks for your time. I'll be reaching out soon, and enjoy the rest of the trial. Be safe, have some fun. Keep your eye on those knockers, and we'll talk soon. Okay, my friend?
Okay. Stay frosty, folks.
All right. You too, brother. Take care.
Cheers.